Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. And my name is Michael Ostrovsky, and let me briefly tell you about myself. I sort of wear two hats. One is I'm a professor of economics at Stanford Business School. My areas of expertise are game theory, auction theory. Within those, I look at internet advertising, at e-commerce. I've written some of the original papers on the design of advertising auctions about a couple decades ago. Since then, I've advised a bunch of companies on ad auctions, Yahoo, Google, LinkedIn, Pinterest, among others. And a few years ago, together with Regina and Francisco, who are here in the audience, we decided to start a company, TopStored, that would sort of democratize these technologies that are, at that point, that were available only to these giant companies and make them available broadly to a much broader set of retailers and marketplaces to allow them to run auction-based advertising on their platforms. And we have a number of really interesting clients, from those selling really small products. One of our clients is Poshmark, to others who have very large orders, like B2B platforms like LiftLink. We have Glovo, we have Baby Tudo, which is part of Walmart. So we sort of, at this point, we know quite a bit about the world of online advertising, and happy to talk more about this after the talk. But what I really want to talk about is how to try to make money from advertising in the world where privacy regulations seem to be increasing and seem to be on the minds of regulators all the time. So let me just start out by showing you a few of the recent headlines that, if you're paying attention to advertising, you probably have seen them. So the first one, a few weeks ago, Meta, Facebook was fined $1.3 billion for violating EU data privacy rules. Similar one, ad tech giant Criteo faces $65 million fine in France for GDPR consent breaches. So both of those are fines by the regulators, but that's not the only problem with privacy and advertising. Sometimes regulation comes not from politicians, but from other companies. Here's another headline from Financial Times. Snap, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube all lose nearly $10 billion after iPhone privacy changes. Basically, when iPhone changed how they allow these companies to track users across different properties. Here is an academic paper. I hope you can see the title, The Impact of Privacy Measures on Online Advertising Markets. This is a joint effort between Caltech and Yahoo, looking at what happens when Chrome-style and Firefox-style regulations on tracking users across platforms come into play. And what this paper shows is that they estimate that basically the revenue that these publishers would get from advertising would drop in half. Right, so really dramatic effect. So this is one set of headlines, but here is a different set of headlines that's happening at the same time. First one is from Amazon. Amazon sees huge potential in ads business as AWS grows flattens. So this is a chart for the last few years. Their ad business is absolutely on fire. Last year, they made almost $40 billion from advertising on Amazon, and there is no sign of this slowing down. Walmart is catching up. When they saw that they started their own effort, made $2.7 billion in 2022, view this as an amazing business. Here is a quote from Walmart's CEO. I can't remember a business with the margin structure of the advertising business here at Walmart, and having 30% growth for the quarter was nice. Instacart's ad business surges. I don't know if you can see the text, but basically last year they made 30% of their revenue came from advertising, right? So you think of Instacart as a delivery company, but they actually made 30% from ads. So how do you reconcile these two sets of headlines? It doesn't seem to make sense. On one hand, you have all of these issues. On the other hand, you have all of these companies growing like crazy. And the difference can be explained in a very simple way. There are two types of advertising. One type of advertising is what I would call invasive advertising. So when you go on Facebook, you want to read posts from your friends. Maybe you want to read some memes, some jokes. And instead, someone is trying to sell you pens, right? And to be able to do that, because they're trying to get you to do something that you weren't planning to do, they need a ton of information about the user, right? They need to figure out from all my browsing behavior around the internet or from whatever else information they collect about me, they're trying to guess what it is they can possibly sell to me. And this is why they get into all of this regulatory trouble, because the name of the game is to get as much information about me as possible in order to sell me something that I was not planning to buy at the time when they showed me the ad. Now, contrast that with the type of ads you're going to see on Amazon, Instacart, Walmart, that I would call native advertising, right? You go on Amazon, and at that point, you do want to buy a pair of jeans, and you type in jeans, and you do see ads for jeans. I'll show you a screenshot in a moment. So it matches user intent at just the right time. It can work really well with absolutely no data about the user, right? So let me emphasize that. When I go on Amazon and, again, search for jeans, clearly if they know that I'm a man or a woman, they may show me different results, right? So they can't benefit from information about the user. But if they know absolutely nothing about me, like literally, they just see that there is some user who's not logged in, completely anonymous, who's searching for jeans, they can still show me really highly relevant ads, right? In a way that Facebooks and Snapchats of the world cannot. Related to this, they don't need to enter into some kind of fancy partnerships with third parties, because the user, when they click on the ad, they stay on the property, right? So everything remains first party. When I click on an ad on Amazon, I stay on Amazon. And of course, it's also good from the business perspective that when someone clicks on the ad, they're not sent outside of the marketplace's or retailer's platform. And kind of the last benefit for now, I'll show more benefits in a moment, is that ads are almost by construction relevant, right? When you're starting with that premise that you're going to show the user the ads for the thing that the user is currently looking at, they're going to be relevant, as opposed to, again, to places like Facebook, where most of the time the ads are pretty random. So let me, kind of as an illustration, show you a screenshot from one of our clients, Atida. And the reason why I chose this particular client is because it's sort of in the very center of potential privacy concerns. So first of all, they're in Europe, they're in France. Second, it's a pharmacy. They sell they sell beauty products and all of pharmacy products. And so for them, these types of issues are obviously very important. And this is what native advertising looks like on their platform. So I typed in sunscreen in French, and I'm getting a bunch of results. And the top 5 results, there is a sign at the top that says sponsored. These are the native ads, right? So the manufacturer, the brands selling these items paid to promote them. And then further down, you see organic results. And of course, they're all very relevant, because these are the ads that sellers wanted to sell when someone is searching for sunscreen, okay, with absolutely no information about the user. All right, let me talk about a few other benefits of native advertising, because as you start thinking about it, you kind of realize there's kind of a lot of them. So the first set of benefits is that native advertising gives a lot of control to the vendors, right? Instead of just being completely passive and hoping that, I hope I rank high, I hope that someone notices my new product, you actually give them this lever and you say, look, if you really think your new product is fantastic and you want users to see it, feel free to advertise it. And if you have low inventory and you're actually not desperate to sell it, fine, don't advertise it. So it's really, and you can choose when to advertise it. You can choose to advertise during Black Friday. So it's really suddenly brands and sellers feel like they're in the driver's seat, as opposed to being at the mercy of whatever the ranking algorithm of the marketplace is. Now, from the point of view of the marketplace, it's a really flexible, really profitable, sort of self-equilibrating, and I'll say more about this later, monetization layer, right? It's just it's not just a profitable one, but it's also, you can easily adjust the parameters, right? You can decide, well, do I want to show more ads? Do I want to show fewer ads? Which categories I want to allow this on? So it's really, you can really have a lot of control over this, as opposed to many other monetization tools. And that gives marketplaces headroom to adjust other commissions and fees. Like some of the examples I'll show you are marketplaces where everything else is just free, right? So the commissions and fees are completely all the way down to 0, but it doesn't have to be this way. It could be that, you're saying, well, because of the advertising revenue, I have now some wiggle room to have some of the other commissions be lower. Another major benefit is, as the marketplace, if you have one of those platforms, you have full control over the kinds of ads that the user will see, right? If you put some double-click ads on your website, they're going to make some money, but you have no idea what's going to be shown there, right? It may show ads for, car insurance. It may show ads for weight loss. It can show some nasty ads. Like you don't know. You don't control it. Whereas with this type of native advertising, Amazon has full control over who is allowed to advertise there, what kind of ads. Like they really have a much tighter control over that. It allows you to attract more vendors. You can come to them and say, look, there is now this really fast way to ramp up your demand. Should be very attractive. Another benefit that's not to be overlooked is a strategic one, right? Suppose you're in a very competitive situation where you're competing with 2 other marketplaces, and you're already barely breaking even. Having revenue from this monetization lever allows you, to lower the commissions, and then if your competitors don't have advertising, you can really take advantage of that, right? So that's a really important one. And the last one, sort of very different one, but still not important, is a technical one. This works really well both on desktop and mobile, right? You don't need to have 2 sets of partners, 2 different tracking technologies, 2 different sets of APIs, this and that. It's all kind of the same logic where you just decide which ones to promote, and the kind of native ad systems are typically fairly agnostic about where it is that the user is going to see them. All right, so the main types of native advertising that we see in the wild, and maybe in the future there's going to be more. So the main types are, one is sponsored listings. That's the one I showed you. You search for sunscreen, and you get some results for sunscreen in the listings page. You can also have banner ads in a similar fashion. You can also have video ads. It's actually, if you go on Amazon and search for even something very generic, you search for shovels, you're going to see video ads for shovels. So there is quite a variety of types of ads that the user can see, but again, they're all for products native to the platform. All right, so how does this work? What's the typical flow on all of these types of platforms? And basically, it works very similar to Google AdWords. And actually, Google AdWords they were not the ones who invented it. It was invented by this company GoTo in the 90s, but they sort of were the most successful application. And the logic is very similar to that. So you start, as an advertiser, they start typically with a self-serve UI. It can be managed by the marketplace too, but typical example, they have some user interface where they select products or services that they want to promote, and then they specify the parameters of their ads. And I'm going to say a little bit more about this in terms of what it is exactly that they can specify. In some cases, they can specify bids for individual products. In some cases, they can specify some higher-level parameters like the budget or their objectives. And then when users search or browse for a particular page on the marketplace, so for example, they search for sunscreen, relevant ads are chosen by the marketplace. So the marketplace says, okay, here is 53 ads that are potentially relevant, according to our logic, to this query, and then they participate in an auction, and the auction can take into account both the bids and the relevance of those results. It doesn't have to be just whoever bids the most wins. It can be more elegant than that. And then the auction winners are shown to the users along with the organic results, kind of in a way that I showed you. And then, very importantly, right, because it's a relatively complicated system, you can have real-time reporting or fast reporting where advertisers can see statistics on how their campaigns are doing, how many times users saw their campaigns, how many times the campaigns were clicked, how many times they had purchases, the total amount. So all of that, obviously, they can see. And again, the ability to see it in real time as opposed to having to call some sales representative and wait for them to get back to you and saying they're on lunch break. So that's actually very attractive. It also gives advertisers a sense of control. Okay, so that's kind of very typical flow. And as I already mentioned, it actually grew from just being used on search engines like Google or Bing or Yahoo to being widely used in all kinds of different applications. So here are some examples that you may not necessarily think of as being similar to Google AdWords, but they actually are. So one is app stores, and these are some screenshots from Apple App Store and Google Play Store. It's the same. I search for a to-do list on my iPhone and my iPad, and so you have the organic result. But the first result in both of those is a promoted listing where a developer of a to-do list paid to be shown at the very top. Another set of examples is job search sites. So Indeed.com is actually one of the examples I was referring to, where it's completely free to post on Indeed, right? You don't have to pay anything, and that allowed them to grow really rapidly. So they're incredibly large. The way they make all of their money is from sponsored jobs, where if you don't pay, you will get some candidates. But if you want your job posting to show up prominently, then you participate in this type of native advertising. ZipRecruiter has a similar system called Traffic Boost, and it can actually work in both directions. So there is this platform for freelancers called Fiverr, where it's the other way around. There's the freelancers, so the workers, who pay to promote their services. And so if you're searching for, let's say, English editor, then you're going to get a bunch of results. And at the top, you're going to see a few who promoted their services. And of course, as I already mentioned, the advantage is they can promote themselves when they have relatively low demand for jobs and have free time. When they don't have free time, when they're busy, they stop promoting. So it's a very flexible way for them to advertise. Here is an example from travel. Most travel sites, Expedia, Booking.com will have this. If you search for a hotel, some of the top results will be the ones promoted by the platform. And again, it's going to be for the type of hotel you're looking for. So it's going to be relevant for your search. It's not going to be an ad for jeans or for weight loss. You will get this ad for what's already on the platform, just promoted higher. OK, so one question, and the discussion in the previous talk started touching on this a little bit. So why auctions? Why can't you do it in some more mechanical way where you just pay to promote and we promote you? So the basic idea, the basic reason why you would want to use auctions is that it allows you to reconcile demands from multiple users, right? If there's only one person who you want to promote, you don't need an auction. You just negotiate with them and you promote them. But then what do you do once you have multiple ones? Like, who do you promote? How do you reconcile this? And auctions are basically, that's a classical mechanism in economics that's done to reconcile these types of conflicting demands. So first of all, it allows you to use this super convenient self-service. So a lot of the things I mentioned about advertiser experience are made possible by the fact that on the back end there is an auction that can take all these requests and process them in real time. A very important feature of auctions, I think many of you here understand, is that it's a sort of almost magical price discovery mechanism. Instead of trying to guess what these promotions are worth to the users, auctions just uncover the item's true worth, right? If I come to you and say, oh, it's worth $3 for me to promote the item on your website, and I try to negotiate, it's very hard for me to know if you're being truthful or not. But if then someone else shows up and says, well, if it's only worth $3 to you, it's worth $17 to me, buy. And then I can say, well, it's actually, wait a second, it's actually worth $20 to me. So that's that dynamic really helps you uncover the true value. And sort of my favorite anecdote about this, favorite case study, it actually comes also from Google. So when they started their ad business 2 decades ago, so they were not thinking about auctions. Their view was we have this premium space at the very top of the Google web page. And of course, that needs to be handled by customer service representatives, by negotiations, because it's such premium real estate. And so that was done on the negotiation and fixed price basis. And then they say, oh, and then there's like all this leftover stuff on the right side of the website. Let's open this up to small bidders. We don't have time to worry about talking to them one-on-one with using customer service representatives. So we'll just build something where they can bid on their own and have an auction system there. And the rest is history. Within months, all this stuff on the right-hand side that they were thinking of as leftover real estate was outperforming the stuff at the top, and pretty quickly they just merged this into the whole thing with the auction system. They still have customer service representatives, but they serve more to explain how the auctions work and how to participate in them. Now, the last really magical feature about auctions is that they're self-equilibrating. Right? When demand is higher, prices automatically adjust, go up. When the demand is lower, they go down. There is no issue where you say, oh, I charged my price too high, so I underbooked, or too low, and I overbooked. Auctions take care of this automatically. All right, so there is one challenge. It's very important, and we've thought very hard about it in our company. And the challenge is, most people don't know how to participate in auctions, and these are potentially very complicated. So how do we keep the auction system manageable and transparent for advertisers, especially small and unsophisticated ones? And the answer is, and this is something that it actually took the industry a while to converge to, the answer is you have to be laser focused on keeping the user interface as clear and transparent and simple for the bidders as possible. And there is this magic tool called auto bidding, where that allows the advertisers to just have high-level parameters of what it is they're interested in. And then, since this is the AI session, this is the application of AI in auctions, where the system, collecting all the data about past performance of the campaigns, clicks, conversions, etc., can learn to bid optimally. And that's, all of this complexity inside allows the interface for the bidders to be really simple and easy to use. All right, and on that, I want to thank you, and I'm happy to take questions.
Michael, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can we bring up Slido? We've got time for a question. OK, let's do the one that people have asked most thumbs up for. How can the solution be applied in a marketplace with a per-lead monetization model to present double counting and charge for both leads and extra exposure?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And so one of the cool things about this model is that it can be applied to all kinds of different domains. So, the canonical example from AdWords is, of course, CPC. You pay for clicks. You can pay for impressions. You can pay for bookings. You can pay for leads. On Facebook, you can pay for likes. So, there is a lot of stuff that you can pay for. In this particular case, you would probably want to find some currency, some other currency that doesn't directly overlap with what you're already charging for, and then report back to the sellers on that metric. And importantly, you would emphasize that this is kind of an optional program. So
okay.
So it's totally applicable. It's more about kind of how you package it.
Okay, we're going to do one more question.
Yep.
Do clients set the bid on a CPC basis?
Okay, so it's a great question. So they can in these types of platforms, but this is what auto bidding really helps with. They don't have to, right? What this type of platform makes possible is that bids are going to be, you don't set the bids directly. You just set high-level campaign parameters, and then the auto bidding algorithm sets the bids on the CPC basis, but the payments would be on the CPC basis.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Fascinating stuff.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. I have this.